Hey, She Slayers, this is a special sample cut from this week's episode. If you find this interesting, be sure to make time to go listen to the entire episode released this past Sunday. And please be sure to help a girl out and follow or subscribe to this podcast. Is there, all right, so 30 minutes, we'll say 30 minutes. I'm assuming just like a book, just like anything, there is an ideal path. Can you without, I'm not don't gatekeep here, but also you don't have to give away all your best stuff. Like, is there a general journey that somebody who's building a talk should go through?
Absolutely. So, and yeah, and I'll give the framework too. I'm a done for you service. So, and again, I have this big goal that I want to help a bunch of people. I will help anyone do their talks. So the very first part of it is some sort of a hook. The old adage used to be, say a joke, sometimes works, sometimes doesn't, depends on what you are. But I want something that's going to instantly drag people in and go, oh, wait, what now?
I once started a speech with a dead baby joke. Okay,
Interesting
there's
choice.
context here. The speaker
I was
before
going to say
me.
there's got to be some really good context to this.
So the speaker before me, he's right before me. He's giving a 20-minute thing. And he talks about this story where his child literally almost died. Like
Wow.
everybody is crying because we don't know, is the baby alive? Does the baby live? As he's telling the story, everybody's crying. Now, I am I am the after lunch speaker to get people whatever. Also, I don't have the street cred to be the
I'm
5
tucking
o'clock
that
speaker,
away.
whatever.
I'm
Right.
tucking that away in the back as the after lunch speaker.
Yeah.
I'm using that one.
And so I'm standing there, I'm mic'd up as he's I'm 5 minutes from going from stage. And I'm this in my head thinking, this baby better live. If I have to follow a dead baby, I am going to be so pissed. Baby lives, thank God. Otherwise, I never would have told the joke. And so my friend is next to me, and I'm like, okay, is this inappropriate? And she's like, yes, it's inappropriate. Do not say that on stage. And I'm like, okay, totally not going to, is the first thing that came out of my mouth. And I'm like, Austin, you are so lucky that baby lived. If I was going to have to follow a dead baby story, I was going to kill you personally. It didn't kill, but some people laugh.
I think half the
All
audience is
right.
like,
So
what?
he's saying, jokes, hit or miss.
It's going to depend on the audience. If I'm in the middle of an Undertaker's convention, probably not the audience to do a really good joke on. Probably not the audience to do a dead baby joke on either. Or maybe it might go over well.
My husband was so proud of me, though. He's like, that's some dark comedian shit, Lauryn.
I gotta be honest, I think it was kind of epic. But
okay, so anyways,
you know what was going through everyone's heads. I mean, all of them related with it, but it's if you're the after lunch, they're all in their current coma. So the first part is always a hook. So just something to get them in. I started one day, and it's like, okay, who here likes to listen to TED Talks? Okay, can I get, how many here like to listen? Okay. How many here like to listen to a college lecture? And of course, I have the two smart asses in the back, raise their hand, nerd, go from there. Something to bring them in, because now people are like, oh yeah, well, interesting. Okay, tell me some more about this. So it doesn't have to be anything really big. It's just let me draw you in with something. Let me ask a question. And I like the interaction of how that was.
So a hook is short-ish. It's not, you're not starting with a story.
It's like one question, one sentence, real short, just enough to get somebody to say, huh, how does that work?
So a question, can you give another example of a hook? Just so I know there's more than just a question.
So I think another one that I used with a client was, all right, so how many people here are house flippers? What would you do if you didn't have the house on it? You just had the land. Okay. Now I want to learn more about it, because that's land flipping is a thing. And that's what she was talking on. And so there's a bunch of different ways to be able to do that.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
So yeah, just something to bring people in a little bit. Oftentimes it's in the form of a question, because I want people to start to get thinking. That gets people interactive. I don't want to talk at someone, for especially an hour. I don't want to talk at somebody for that. So the next part I'm going to go into is that now make that relevant. Give me some context into why you asked that question, and a little bit of background about yourself. I want to earn the right to be able to talk to these people. What have I done? What am I doing? And that sort of a thing. So just some background on it, background about you and the story behind where you got to that point. Like where you got that question from. So for the land flipper, it's, she had been an entrepreneur since she was, I think, 12 when she first started. Yes, that's a thing. And kind of go through the background of yourself. What do you do? Give some context to that question and a little bit more about yourself. And then what I'll go into is what I call a mountain, Sherpa, and peak sequence. And there's a reason behind this. It's what happens when your mom's a shrink, is stuff like this. I'm a huge fan of a lady named Nancy Duarte, who is like the rock star in the learning industry of presentations and how to do them properly. So the way that your brain creates a memory is by taking old memories, tweaks it a little bit, makes a new memory. If you go through this process, it's really easy to get somebody to see a new version. Martin Luther King does this in all of his talks. I Have a Dream has a lot of old way versus new way. So does like the Steve Jobs iPhone rollout, old way versus new way. They all use this old way versus new way pattern. So here's the old way of doing things. Now I have this way of doing it. And it's how your brain processes information. So the mountain Sherpa peak sequence works this way. I've got my mountain, that thing that I have to climb, that thing that I have to overcome, because now that's the old way, shows the client, or shows the audience. Let's get you into sync with where the old way is. The Sherpa is the person or thing that showed you a new version of something. The peak is the view from the other side. So, taking people through that sequence is, so let's use the concept here. So the mountainside, I hated salespeople who were just up in the front screaming at me that I need to go purchase their product, Sherpa. But then I learned about TED Talks. And after some processing, I learned that stories are a great way for us to be able to learn, because our brains are wired to be emotional. Stories evoke emotions, and that is the fastest way for us to learn. That's my Sherpa peak. Now I create keynotes to help people to be able to go out and sell through stories while attracting people out there, and I have people get great success for it. So that's how to use this sequence, and it gives you a structure on how to actually tell a story in a way that walks people through that structure. It gives people a structure to do it. After I'm done, I do a few teaching sequences. I want somebody to see, well, here's how I do this. I always want to give value at the end. Here's how I do this. A couple of teaching things, a couple of takeaways, 3-ish.
Those are different than the teaching.
A little bit. Like, here's some action items you can take from right now. So here's how to do it. And here's a couple of action items I want you to take. In the next couple of days, I want you to do X, Y, and Z. And then we go with the call to action at the end.
Okay. So let's say we have a 30-minute talk.
Yep.
My hook is 1 or 2 sentences.
Yep.
Then I'm going into, here's why. Yeah. So all right. So in a 30-minute talk, are you saying like my story would be 5 minutes?
About there.
Okay.
Yeah, 5-6 minutes. Yep.
Okay. So then the mountain Sherpa peak.
Mm-hmm.
Is that because like sometimes I'll have someone, they'll kind of say like, here's what we're going to talk about today. Mm-hmm. And it's 1 or 2 minutes. Yeah. Is the mountain Sherpa peak process, is this like 15 minutes of a 30-minute speech, or is it like 10 minutes, or is it like 5 minutes?
We're like 10, because I want to get through that story. And you don't want to rush a story. So we're going to go through it. And now what you're doing in that 10 minutes is you're showing people how to do.
But the story is the entire process, right? It's not 3 stories.
So no, it's an arc. It's a story arc.
Yes. So you're viewing it as an arc. So it's not like somebody's going like, okay, so let me tell you a story about how things used to be, like how, like, story, spending 5 minutes on the how used to be. But then I met this guy. Let me tell you about this guy. Like, it's not another story. And then you're viewing it as one collective story.
It's one progression. I want to show them the path that I go through. Mm-hmm. So this can be anywhere 5 to 10 minutes, 10 if you're only doing one, 5 if you're doing more than one, because you can do more than one of these, depending
15 if you're filling an hour.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we tend to. I do extended mixes, so what I always do for 30 minutes, because I think that's a really good sweet spot. But then for 45 minutes in an hour, because there are slots you have to fill with that, I'll do like, okay, expand this story. Okay, do this. So I call it an extended mix, and I put it in my notes just to say, here, if you need more time, fill it in.
Yeah. I've always had those like stories where it's like, check the clock. Do you have time to tell this story? Like
exactly.
Okay,
well, that's also why I time things too. Like when I give a script to somebody, there's a timing going. This takes 7 minutes. This takes 10 minutes. This takes 2. And I do that so that way, because really experienced speakers, that's what we do is we have a slide. We know when I'm on this slide, I should be at this minute. And
Yes.
it's just easier for us to kind of see where it is. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.